What's up, guys? It's Light Spiral here, and today I'm coming to talk about a topic that is becoming more relevant after the second anniversary Hall of Heroes, where they released Diaz as one of the picks. Um, and I'm specifically going to be talking about Darion versus Diaz in Giants B10. So not everywhere in the game, just specifically for your Giants B10 team, and more specifically for your first Giants B10 team, because the a very typical first Giants B10 team is Vero, Bella, Darian, Shannon, Bernard. Of course, there's a million variations of that with just slight tweaks where you would whatever put in Kona instead of Vero, or you would put in Amon instead of Darian, or whatever the case is. But that's a pretty like cookie cutter team, if you know what I mean by that. And so Darian was normally like the go-to one for that fifth spot. The Vero, Bella, Shannon, Bernard were definitely the four most popular. Of course, some people used the Megan instead of the Shannon, but the fifth slot was really a toss-up for a lot of people. There are people using Kona, people using Rakaja, people using Amen, Chisoon, Delfoy, like all sorts of stuff. But Darian is probably the most common out of those. And now a lot of people have Diaz after that Hall of Heroes, especially people that were early game got Diaz. And Diaz has a very similar role to Darian, and I'm not sure that a lot of people are really using Diaz as a Darian replacement. And in this, I'm going to explain whether he should be a Darian replacement or shouldn't be, like the pros and cons of both. So, first, we'll go over what Darian does, and that, yeah, basically. So, his first skill attacks the enemy one time, and it has a 100% chance after skill ups to do a defense break for 2 turns, and he does damage based on his max HP. So that's nice because you're going to be building him an HP tank anyways. And his second skill attacks 2 times, each with a 50% chance when it's max skilled to decrease attack power. So in Giants, decreasing attack power is very useful. And most people also use Bernard. But so this Darian is just here for a backup attack break in case Bernard misses it. And then his passive makes it so all of his teammates other than himself will get 15% damage reduction, which is very nice, and it's kind of like a substitute for a heal. Like, it's not a heal, but it makes it so you don't need as much heals. So that's where people are using him a lot. Um, and then he awakens into 25 accuracy, which is nice, because in Giants you only need 45 accuracy for it to be maxed. But so that means if you get 20 accuracy from substats or a focus set or whatever, then you'll have max accuracy on your Darian. And then his stats right here, like his actual base stats, his HP is okay. His defense is on the weaker side, but it's still okay. It doesn't really matter what his attacks is. And his speed is about average as well. So he's got more or less average stats, and he awakens into accuracy, which is pretty nice. And the other thing to know about him is he's a Nat 3, but the wind and the water vagabonds are Nat 2s, so it'll be very easy to get skill ups for him. And then now we'll go into Diaz. His first skill, mine isn't skilled up at all, but his first skill attacks the enemy, and it has an 80% chance when it's max skilled to disturb HP recovery, which doesn't do anything in Giants. It's actually useless. The second skill attacks 2 times. When it's max skilled, each has a 100% chance to weaken the attack power and the defense. I'm pretty sure the way it goes is like the first one tries to do attack debuff and the second one tries to do defense, or vice versa. I don't think each hit tries to land both. I think it's like one hit lands one debuff and the other hit lands the other. I could actually be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And then this skill does damage according to his max HP, which is okay. He can be ruined with HP, but most people tend to ruin him with defense. But it doesn't really matter too much. and it's on a 3-turn cooldown just like Darion's. So both of them have a second skill attack debuff with a 3-turn cooldown. And then his passive is the same as Darion's, except on himself only, he has 50% chance to not be critted. So it's undeniable that this passive is better than Darion's, just because it does everything that Darion's does, plus just a little extra bit of anti-crit. But it's not really a huge difference. And then he actually does have a resistance leader skill, which would be okay, but most people run the Vero leader skill, which would make it so you don't really need this resistance leader skill. So that should be something to be noted, that he does have resistance lead, but it's not likely that you're going to use this leader skill. And so my thing is frozen right now, so I'm going to refresh it. So you're not going to see my screen for a second here. I think if this works right. Here, let me just close it. Okay, is this gonna load up anytime? Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. Let me see if I can fix it really quick. If I can't, I'm just gonna have to restart it. Like, I'll have to just make another recording. Okay, just one little second. Okay, I think I should be able to get it up now. I just had to mess around with this setting on my phone. Yeah, okay, I got it. Sorry that was unprofessional and whatnot, but it wasn't that long of a wait. He awakens into resistance, which is also, it's for what he's really made for, resistance is good, but for Giants, the resistance isn't really that necessary because you're going to have Vero, and so the accuracy would actually be more helpful, but that's actually fine. His base stats, the HP is about average, the defense is pretty good, the speed's about average, and then he awakens into the resistance. So if you compare that to Darion on base stats, they've got more or less the same. Oops, I keep not clicking the right ones. Darion's got about 1,000 more base HP, and Diaz has about 130 more defense. And so in terms of base stats, they're decently similar in terms of base stats, and Diaz gets to 25 resistance, whereas Darion gets to 25 accuracy. So that's their like skills and stats, and I'll go more into which one is better for Giants. So the way I think of it is Darion does not do quite as much as Diaz. Like right off the bat, I'll say that. And my main reasoning for that is their passives, we'll just say they're exactly the same, even though Diaz is just slightly better. Darion does not have a leader skill, and Diaz does, but you're not going to really use Diaz leader skill because you'll use Vero leader skill. So now it really just comes down to the first two stats and the base stats, or the first two skills and the base stats. So the defense break is always nice, but you've got Bella and you've got Bernard, so the defense break is not really needed because you already have it. Then this attack break attacks twice, each with a 50% chance, but if you ask me, it's better to attack once with a 100% chance than twice with a 50, because sometimes with a 50 you actually do land it both times, so even if you get resisted once you can land it the second time, but sometimes you don't get it doesn't even activate both times. So that's where I don't like that. Another thing to consider with these two is both of them have a first skill that is a single hit and a second skill that is a 2-hit. So they both are going to proc the Giants counterattack just as quick. They're pretty similar monsters. And then moving over to Diaz, the first skill on Diaz is completely useless. And then the second skill is where I think his second skill is better than Darion's, because his second skill has a 100% chance to try to land the attack break instead of 50% chance 2 times. So in that regard, I think that that's better. Darion is going to have a little more damage output just because his HP is higher. His first skill is HP scaling, whereas Diaz has a lower HP and his second skill is HP scaling. So I do think Darion wins on the damage side, but neither one of them do great damage. I don't recommend your first Giants team ruining either of these guys for damage. The damage is kind of a bonus. But so Diaz, I think in terms of the skills, wins this little contest, if you ask me. And then the passive is just slightly better, but it's not really noticeably better. Darion awakens into the accuracy, which is better. But the other thing to consider with these two is to use Diaz with 100% chance activation. You do need at least 4 skill ups, which is likely going to have to be Devilmons to skill this guy up. And I don't think it's terrible to use Devilmons on him because you'll use him in R5 when the day comes. But you're likely not going to be able to summon enough Death Knights to max skill this guy. Whereas Darion, you can use Nat 2s to skill up him. So the skill ups are much easier for Darion. But so my overall verdict on these two is they are extremely similar in Giants. When it comes to raid, it's no doubt that Diaz is better. But in terms of Giants B10, these two are very, very similar monsters. And whether it comes down to whether you want to build Darion or Diaz, I think should really just be down to if you're willing to use skill ups for Diaz. If you don't want to get Diaz skill ups, use Darion. He does more or less the same job, and he's got the accuracy, which makes it so if you just get 20% accuracy from substats or one focus set, he's got max accuracy. Whereas Diaz, you are going to need to find a way to get 45 accuracy. But so if you're willing to give Devilmons to Diaz and you can get 45 accuracy with Diaz, I would definitely say Diaz is your better choice. But if you don't want to use Devilmons on Diaz, or you don't have the runes to get 45 accuracy on Diaz and still make him tanky, Darion is going to be a very good option for you. And he has longevity in the game, so to say. Like, he's good in Giants B10, and then he can be used in raids, although Diaz is preferred, and then he's useful in some guild battle scenarios. But Diaz is very good in R5 and good in Giants. So in terms of how long you're going to be using these two monsters, Diaz is, like, once you get past Giants B10 and you move on to Dragons, Necro, TOA, that kind of stuff, Diaz is going to be the monster that you're going to use late game. Like, once you get late game, you're not really going to be using Darion too much. It is going to be Diaz. But specifically for Giants, I would say Diaz is better, like I said, if you can get the runes and if you're willing for skill ups. And if you're not willing for skill ups or the runes, Darion is your pick. So, yeah, basically at the end of the day, if you already have one of these two 6-starred and you think you should win the other one, it's not really a big deal because, like I said, they're very, very similar monsters and they're both good and useful. And so, yeah, like I said, it's not a shame if you 6-starred either of them. I actually 6-starred both of them, as you can see, and I don't really regret either of them. But that's kind of it for today's discussion of Darion or Diaz in a Giants B10 team. I will likely be making a video pretty soon of a Diaz Giants B10 team just to showcase him in Giants and show how he works. And Darion, I would make a video for him, but there's so many videos of Giants B10 teams with Darion that I don't really feel like I need to, because you guys can just look up Giants B10 team with Darion, and I'm sure there'll be hundreds of videos to see. But that's really all I have for today, though, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can just tell me in the comments. Also, if there's any other videos you want to see, you can also just tell me in the comments. If there's any kind of monsters you want me to review or discuss, like I said, just, I'm getting repetitive now, but just leave it in the comments. But yeah, that's really all I have for today, though, guys. So may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows.